All right, guys, we're about to start the battle. Welcome to Elevated Hour. Chantel and I created this from Passions for Elevation, and we kind of wanted to just touch on some of the topics that all of us talk about, or some of us don't talk about. Sassy man apocalypse, masculine females, and the divide that's happening between the two right now. So, yes, although this is a battle, we are bridging a gap between men and women. So we do want to just open up a healthy conversation of how we can change some of these dynamics and make it better for all of us, for men and women. So I do want to thank all of you for coming. I'm going to pass the mic to Chantel, and we're going to introduce some of our panelists and let them talk a little bit about what they do and these incredible people that are going to come and speak in front of you.
Thank you. First of all, she came from Texas. Okay. Shout out to everybody who came over here, who flew over here, who drove here, who took the train. I don't care what you did. Thank you, Canada. I love that. Yes. Puerto Rico. Yes. Okay. The Bronx. Oh my God, the Bronx. We got Yonkers over here. We got New Jersey over here. Who else we have? Yonkers. Yonkers. I shot you out already. Utah. Yes, we have pod. I love that. They came from very far, okay? But my name is Chantel Sanchez, also known as your bossy big sis, and I'm so happy that you guys came here for the Elevated Hour. When I said we're going to talk about the sassy man apocalypse, Lori said, you are bugging. Everybody's going to hate you. They're going to throw tomatoes, okay? And listen, it's just the facts, unfortunately. Okay, some men are nodding yes, so they don't hate me too much. But it's really important that we have this conversation, not just about the men. We're talking about the toxic ladies, so that's you. I'm sorry, you gotta go. This is a healing space. Okay, Cosette, I'm just kidding. Ooh. But it's a very important conversation that we do need to have because, you know, we need to heal. Okay? Amen. Amen. We need to heal. We need to work on our relationships. We need to work on our partnerships. Listen, if my boyfriend was here, he'll be like, yes. You absolutely do. And I'll take accountability for that. As we all do, right? As long as we want to progress, as long as we want to get better, we want to work on ourselves as a human, we have to take accountability. And we have to have these really strong and uncomfortable conversations, right? So this is why we have a great panel of great people that I love so much and getting to know the O'Neills, right? I love that we're going to have a lot of strong opinions in this room, especially from my best friend over here. A lot of strong opinions over there. Juju, very strong opinions. You guys are gonna hear her, right? Wendy, I'm curious what your opinions are. But he's like, yes, okay?
You already know.
He's already shouting her out. But he wants to go home with no problems today, okay? But I want to also give a very special shout out to my friends, Miss Nikki over here. She is launching her business, Create for Eternity, right? So I would love for you guys to show her some support, right? Get some cocoa bombs, whether for you, for a friend, or some cupcakes after your little drinky drinks, and supporting our hidden tiger here as well. The food smells amazing. Okay, I am hungry. Okay, we can share some with this. Okay. So I want to give an opportunity for the panelists to introduce themselves a little bit, who you are, what you do, why you're here, and how you're helping the community real quick before we get toxic.
Go around. Yeah. Right there and go around.
What's up, everybody? My name is Josh Pizarro. I'm actually a travel planner for Puerto Rico and a real estate developer out there. The reason I'm here is actually to network and, you know, to speak about some of the roles between men and women in finance. I have a little experience with dating, and it's not the best.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for having me. You all look beautiful and amazing, so give it up for yourselves. That was very weak. Try again. My name is Fernando. They call me Flow Genius. That's the name I gave myself in this industry. I am a God-loving father of two with a third on the way. My beautiful wife is over there, standing back there. And I do media production, everything from podcasts to event recaps to just anything that needs to be captured. Photo shoots, video, drone work. I travel. I do it all, whatever's needed from the clients. And I'm here tonight because I heard that Issa has something to say. So I was like, well, if she's gonna get the mic, if she's gonna get the mic, then we need to balance it out by bringing me. So that's my purpose here today, to balance this energy, and I look forward to the conversation. So thank you.
Well, my name is Dave O'Neill, originally from Boston. I do live in Utah now. I met Wendy 5 years ago. We've been married for 2.
We're newlyweds.
That's right. So there's going to be no argument here. I know what side my brain's fluttering on, okay? I got to be honest, I don't know what the hell a sassy man is, so hopefully I know a little bit of what I do know. And we met Sam a month ago in Austin, Texas. And we run a nonprofit. We may also made the mistake of telling her that we do relationship coaching. Because what we know after 50 plus years between the two of us of a bad marriage, and you probably all know the narcissist I was married to, probably the one she was married to, it's the narcissist we all know. But what we know is you cannot love anyone else until you love yourself.
Amen.
So Unstick the Stuck is our relationship coaching, and we start with learn how to love yourself, learn how to take care of yourself. Then you learn how to communicate with yourself. And if you can talk to yourself honestly, you can talk to your partner honestly. And that's what it's all about. So hopefully I'll figure out what a sassy man is. And you'll get a little bit of opinion. You guys get a little bit of opinion from almost 60-year-olds, because y'all are too young.
I'm gonna skip me for right now, but look, the guys are bringing it. Everybody's talking about self-love, self-care. Like, come on, ladies, come on.
We're done, right?
Okay, my name's Wendy O'Neill, and I am from California, but David and I do reside in Utah. I've got 5 kids from my first marriage. David actually has 1, so we have 6 combined. And mine are 28.
57 grandkids or something.
No, there's only 8. Anyway, my kids are 28 to 36, and they're amazing. We have a very close relationship. But I do run the nonprofit that Laurie had mentioned. I do vocational training for women rescued in developing countries. I started in 2002 when I had lost my identity and had been pregnant, nursing, and child tending for a decade straight and just didn't know who I was anymore. So not knowing who you are and where you need to go and what your purpose is a very relatable topic for me. And so we work in Philippines, India, Cambodia, Peru, the Dominican Republic, Kenya, and Uganda. And so they have made everything that is back on the table, and then 64% goes back to them, and it is a 501c3. So if you need Christmas gifts, if you want to make a difference and help a woman maintain long-term self-reliance, it's a great nonprofit to support. But on the relationship coaching, since Dave covered that so well, we have learned, both of us, like even when we were out of the toxic relationship that we had been in, there was still work to be done. And a lot of it was on my end, because it's hard to accept a healthy relationship when all you know is an unhealthy one. And so there's a lot to be said around the dynamics of where the world is currently and what has happened to the male-female roles and everything happening there. So it's going to be fun to get into it, and we're happy to be here.
Well, I am Julissa Zaragoza, but everybody knows me as Juju. I met both of you, I think, both, Lori and Chantal, because I was invited to be a speaker at a retreat, a women's retreat in Puerto Rico. I am 47. I've never been married. I don't have children, not by choice, but I am a very career-driven woman. And I think that's why it also interests me to be part of this panel, to share that part, because I know sometimes women are really stressed out about especially I'm Latina, I'm Mexican, so about like you have to get married, you have to have a husband. I don't. I could have my Scooby snacks, and I believe that I will find a man for me because it's hard, right? And I think that's one of the conversations we're gonna have. It's hard to find a partner when you are really fulfilling your dreams, and I am a God-fearing woman. I do pro bono. I run the pro bono practice group for Kirkland & Ellis, which is the biggest law firm in the world, which is access to justice to people that cannot afford attorneys, everything from immigration to human rights to children to veterans. I also own a magazine called Teleguest Magazine, which is a luxury travel tool for the industry. I also own Juju J Productions. I produce films, documentaries, and photo shoots for different people around the world, mostly in Europe and Mexico. And I have a small project that just started called Juju's Closet, which is similar. We were talking about that, which is for women in Oaxaca and Chiapas, where there is a lot of indigenous women that depend on their husbands that run the money, that tell them what to do. So this is called Mujeres de Maíz. It provides like them the support to be able to leave toxic relationships and whatnot. So what I do is I work with the women that make all this product, sell it here. We do a lot of consignment in like Soho and Tribeca, and then the money goes directly to them. So, and this year, and I'm really proud of this because I feel like people think you're supposed to look a certain way, right? I don't look athletic. I mean, I'm not obese, but I don't look athletic, but I ran the marathon this year. I ran the New York City Marathon, so 26.25 miles. It was a goal that I've had my whole life because when I spoke to these young ladies, I am very focused on finding balance. Like when you work hard to make money, you need to work hard also on yourself. So one of the subjects I guess I can also say is like, that we can speak on as men and women is like taking time for ourselves, not just as you mentioned, the love, the self-love, but what does the self-love look like, right? Do we go to the gym? Do we find a goal to complete? So I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to share my perspective and to hear everybody else's perspective.
Hey y'all, my name is Isa Galan. I am a Dominican Venezuelan mommy, not to a mommy, like I'm actually a mom, to a 4-year-old boy named Royce. I'm a baker. I have my own baking business, and I'm also one of the founders of the Mommy Village with my beautiful bestie, Miss Chantel Sanchez. We help a bunch of moms, kids, and honestly just the community. We love to give back. And I'm also a financial professional, so you guys need either a cake, financial service, or a mom in need, send them our way. But besides that, I'm here because I like to be a rule breaker. I like to break out of these stereotypes. I don't like being put in a box. I think if you're a mom, you can do anything you want to be. You can look how you want to look. If you're a man, you could be as sensitive as you want to be. If you're a woman, you could be as masculine as you want to be. It's who you bring to the table, what you want to bring, and who you want to be. I encourage you to always be yourself. And once you find yourself and you align with that, everything else will align for you as well. Your partner, your job, your career, your everything. Just be true to who you are. And once you love yourself, the world has no choice but to love you. And if not, they can get out the way.
Hi, those are some great introductions. Okay. Well, I am Sue Fearless. That's what everyone calls me. I am the founder of an organization called Fearless Women. And I'm actually going to share something that I didn't think I was going to share, but based on what everybody was sharing about toxicity, narcissism, things like that, I come from a relationship that was very toxic. There was a lot of domestic violence. And I think that a lot of it stemmed from us not healing from patterns that have been passed down to us generationally. I think that had to do a lot with what that relationship was about, and not taking out the time to heal together and figure those things out because we were very young when we got together and had children. So, you know, these spaces are very important and very safe and much needed conversations, right? Because we're all human. right? So we're not here to say one gender is better than the other gender. One's personal experience is more, deep and hurtful than anybody else's experience, right? We've all experienced things in our own way, and we carry that baggage over and over and over into all of the relationships that we get into, until we finally sit down and take a look at ourselves in the mirror and decide that it's time to work on ourselves, right? So I think that that's something that I want you guys to take with you this evening, because that'll make these type of conversations be better and not be so much battle of the sexes, right? But I feel like I'm in a baby shower, right? I feel like, did you guys pick the pink? Did you guys pick the blue? What'd you guys pick? So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into the nitty gritty, right? So welcome to the Elevated Hour series. Woo! And make sure you guys share this with everyone, because I would love to continue having these conversations because they're very important. So share it with everyone. So we're gonna drop our filters. We're gonna remove our masks. Again, this is a safe space. We're gonna talk about things that we may feel uncomfortable talking about normally, right? And I'm gonna make sure I open it up to the audience as well. So guys, as you're hearing everybody speak, think of your questions, because I definitely wanna hear from you guys too. So we are going there. Tonight we're unpacking gender roles, evolving expectations, money dynamics, right? Which is also a taboo in relationships as well. Dating culture, emotional intelligence, and everything in between. We're not sugarcoating anything. No political correctiveness, all right? Just real people, real experience, right? And real conversations, all right? So, some of these are gonna be more geared for women, some of these are gonna be more geared for men. It will be a combination also. We only have one mic, so whoever's brave enough. If not, I'm gonna call out on you guys. All right. All right, so redefining roles. How have traditional masculine and feminine roles evolved in today's society? And do you think this evolution has created more of a balance or more of a confusion between the sexes? And I'll take a pick, or I'm gonna call on somebody. Go.
So I'm only 35, so I only have but so much context. 35 years worth of life, right? And you can't count like the first 10, right? You're a child. But one of the things that I noticed was what men were in the past and what women were in the past, in my experience, and then what they became, right? So when you say sassy men, just to help you out, what they mean is men that are very emotional and me, and the things that traditionally you would expect from a woman, right? And we know that women are more emotional, men are more linear and structural, right? So what happened over the decades, that in my experience, and the way I saw it was culturally, through music, through movies, through everything, through entertainment, is that men were shown to be more feminine, more princess, and women were inspired and pushed to be more bosses and to get the money and to do, to strive, right? Which there's nothing wrong with women striving. There's so many women in here, and I think every woman should be able to strive, vote, you name it, whatever the right is, have that right. But there comes a limit when you feel like you can do this on your own and you don't need a man, that then now you're stepping into your masculinity. And then men have, over the decades, discarded women and been more loyal to men than women. It's a little bit weird sometimes. So I've seen men just, especially fatherless men. So I grew up without my own father, and then I had a stepfather in the picture who wasn't, he was working, but he wasn't like a father figure for me per se, right? So when you don't have this male figure there as a man, as a young boy growing into a man, to help mold you and help show you what's right from wrong, who do you learn from? Well, I learned from mom, I learned from sisters, I learned from my aunt, I learned from the female friends who loved hanging around me because I was safe, because I was more feminine.
And you learned
So,
from media.
And of course, well, we established that with the cultural, the media, and the music. So music plays a big role because I love her, Cardi B, right? But or anyone, when you're like, real ass bitch, give a fuck about a nigga, like, you're already putting into these young girls that you don't need to give a fuck about a guy. That you just need your girls, that you could get the bags and all that, and that's what's important. And so when that girl grows up, she feels she doesn't need a man. And then the men don't feel like they want to go after, or even they want to go after, but then when they go after, this is too masculine for me. You can't submit to me. So the roles, the way I've seen them change over the years, is that yes, we didn't lose, they are still lost. There's a whole generation of young boys out here that don't know how to be men, and there are young girls out here believing that they don't need a man. And granted, as children, they shouldn't even be thinking about this, but there should be some form of healthy example of what a feminine woman is and what a masculine man is.
There's a lot of truth to that, and I think the reason why a lot of men fear or have problems with the way that women have changed is because, let's be honest, most, like 85% of the men out there have about the emotional intelligence of a 15-year-old, right? I mean, most of us haven't grown up emotionally. We haven't learned to communicate. And so we see change, then we fear change, then we fight change. Not necessarily because we want to or need to, it's just a knee-jerk reaction. And I think, there is that, there is those typical gender roles, but also like in, what we do, I don't vacuum because I hate vacuuming, but I do everything else around the house. And we don't talk about it like, we need to share it, we just do it. And so when you get to the point where you have a true partnership, it isn't 50-50, it should be 100-100, because some days he's 20, you need to be at least 80. And some days, vice versa. So you've got to be willing to do 100-100, and so that means that means you kind of suck it up and get ready for change, because sometimes there's going to be change. But I do think you're right. There comes a time, as strong as she is as a woman, she built this whole nonprofit all by herself. She raised her kids all by herself. There was a guy there, but he was mostly in the basement playing video games. So I know she's a strong woman, but there are times when she needs my strength. And so as a man, I got to be there for that, because there are times she needs to be a vulnerable woman, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think you're right. You can't just be one or the other, okay? And this is for men and women. You got to be both.
Can I ask a question? As like an independent woman, how can we create space for men like yourselves to feel safe to be that man? Because I find it difficult in relationships to take a step back from being hyper independent and create that space for males in my life. How would you suggest
Do you
doing
want that from a woman's point of view or from a
that?
man's point of view?
Maybe Wendy's the best person to answer
into that, and then I'll pass it.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt y'all.
No worries. Yes, and I do want to say we are going to open it up for questions after everyone's speaking, so I want to make sure we're cognizant of the time.
Okay.
But yeah,
You want
I'm just going to say something quick and pass it to her.
So that's a great question, and that's definitely a start. But that starts with men creating the safety for women.
Wow.
So men have to create the safety to be able to make, for a woman to feel like, okay, this man can lead me. Then yes, when we create the safety for you, then you drop your masculine and you feel comfortable enough to step into your feminine.
Just real quick.
It's starting.
now the men talking.
I know what you mean. But from a male perspective, honestly, it's got to start with him knowing that he is able to communicate. Because you need to be able to say, shut up. I don't want you to fix the problem. I want you to listen. That's all I need for you to do is listen, right? Because what do? Right? We jump right, oh, well, here's your problem. Because we're fixers. That's what men do.
Yeah.
And I want to add, right, so the shift in like feminine roles, right, I think it also has to do with what has been going on in society in the past, right? So we have been conditioned, depending on what backgrounds you're from, for a man to take lead in a relationship, the man to be the breadwinner, the women to be the stay-at-home wife, the mom, the cook, the cleaner, all of those things. And I think that it got to a point where a lot of relationships weren't working out in longevity, so women had to pick up things in the household and they had to get jobs and things like that. So that's where it stemmed from. But then now we have to look at it like, okay, we are stepping into our feminine, strong roles, but we still have to make sure we keep our minds open and our hearts open to what the male role brings into the situation as well.
So my experience fell into that category very quickly because Dave was very willing to help and I was very resistant to that. And he did have to spend a lot of consistent time, implementing I am here, right? Without, oh, I'm here, but I won't be here next week, right? It was a lot of consistency on his part. But the male role being redefined, that's the tipping point in society today. We, in the 1970s, redefined the woman's role. And it started there, and the sad thing is we did not then create an impact plan for men. And we did not then redefine the men's role. So men have been playing up for the last 50 years going, okay, my normal traditional go-to is protect, provide, and procreate. And you've stripped me of that, but you haven't said, because I need you to do this now, emotional support, stand by my side, be there when I need you. And so there hasn't been a rule book for the man's role for over 50 years. And men will traditionally definitely fall into addiction far quicker than a woman will. So their escape and their numbing has been gaming, pornography, anything, alcohol, drugs. It's typically men, and I'm not speaking here in America, worldwide, every country I've been in, it's the men that go into those numbing activities, those escapes. And so once we can get ourselves as women in a place where not only are we the CEO, not only are we the mom, but we are also the communicator of needs and defining the role for the person we're trying to involve in our life, then that man will have a playbook. They need a playbook, and we have not given them one yet.
Yeah, like for instance, like how I mentioned earlier, it's not like I said I don't need a man. I want a man. I want a partner. I've met many women my age that straight up say, I don't need a man, I don't want a man. And I'm looking at them like, no, like I want a man, and I know there is balance, right? So yes, I'm a CEO, yes, I'm a CFO, this and that, but I also like to cook. I also like to clean my house. And it's funny to say this, but I also pretend, I have a boyfriend now, so I also pretend with him sometimes I can't fix the TV because it makes him feel good. It's okay, you're not lying, but it's kind of redefining that he feels like, oh, no worries, Juju, I got this, I'm needed, he's needed. And I went to a class at church that it was like, for couples, and when I was snuck into class, I wasn't in a relationship, and my pastor was looking at me like, okay, I see you, Juju, right? But it was really cool because it talked about creating balance, right? Whether it's financial, whether it's what you do at home. So there was one case study where like the woman made $300,000, she was an attorney, but the guy was a bus driver, but he had like a set job with 401k, with retirement. So they sat down and they parted that out and said, okay, I'm gonna pay the mortgage, you're gonna pay all the bills. And the woman, even though she made more money, she's like, all those bills are your responsibility, you're gonna figure it out. All this is mine, we're gonna figure it out. But it started creating a balance and a conversation between them. The same as a stay-at-home woman. She wrote a list of, she cleaned, she babysat, she cooked, she this, she that. Then she took a manual where it showed how much a housekeeper would charge, a babysitter would charge. She made that list and gave it to her husband and realized it was contributing the same. So it created balance. So I think for my age group, that's where I find myself. Finding someone that wants to create balance. And I say that because I do have, like my boyfriend's daughter, she's 19, so I have different conversations with her because it's different for younger people because of social media, because of whatnot. I'm still a little bit on the old school side. I still know that I'm gonna rub my man's feet, I'm gonna cook for him dinner. It's not bad. I'm not, I'm saying that's part of it. Like, so when I hear women my age saying, I don't cook, I don't clean, I'm okay, well, like, good for you. You're gonna find, you know what I'm saying? You have to find your match. But for me, I'm old school. I was raised by a Mexican mom. I have all but brothers. So in that regards, yeah, I'm gonna go make, you know, $250,000, but I'm also gonna take care of my house. But that's the hard part, to kind of transcend that to a man, because usually men my age, like meaning over 40, have 2 babies, 3 babies, 2 baby mamas, 3 baby mamas. So then that's another component that we don't talk about, that if I meet a man like that, which my boyfriend now has 2 baby mamas, 2 babies, one with special needs, and I don't have any of that, but I still don't use it against him. I still try to find a balance in it, and I think it just goes back to communicating and finding balance.
Yeah. Isa, actually, let me, because this one is gonna come to you first.
Oh, great.
Let me take over a little bit, but not on the feminine side, feminine and masculine right now, okay? Because this is all deep conversation, so we're gonna have a lot to say, but I want to talk about the emotional intelligence and the masculinity. You touched on it where you said, you know, women are normally the more expressive, vulnerable, emotionally led, right? So my thought on it is, I think it's because everything we've been talking about, right? So once we entered the 70s, the 80s, and feminism started looking something a little different, we didn't open up that pathway for how men would, you know, express themselves leading up till now. So I think that's part of the reason why women are so vocal right now and men are a little bit behind the scenes. So I think that men need to start being more vocal in respect, though, to our female counterparts and female, you know, and male. So my question is, do you believe, and I'm going to pass it to Issa first, then I'll come to you. Do you believe modern men are being encouraged enough to express vulnerability, or is there a stigma around it?
Mucho cuidado.
You guys want me to be real?
Yeah.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I think men being vulnerable is actually a beautiful thing, but let's separate being vulnerable, and I feel like nowadays men like to express their feelings, but they're not really willing to hear what we have to express back. So yes, be vulnerable, but the same way we're respecting you guys gotta learn to respect us. So in a sense, like, let's say something's bothering you and we're here to hear you out. I feel like sometimes there's a big wall between expressing each other, and what might bother you may not bother me, but I gotta understand that it bothers you, and vice versa. And to go back to the topic of before, because I already have something to say. It's not that we don't need a man, it's that we need the right man. Because the right man, and I'm gonna answer your question, the right man will know how to bring your walls down. The right man will know how to love you. Because there could be any man around here that could possibly love you, and you might still have your wall up. And he might give up too quick, and he might walk out the door, then that wasn't the man for you. Right. The right man is gonna keep fighting for you. It's gonna keep seeing the light within you. The light that you probably can't even see within yourself. There's a man out there that knows your value and your worth, and maybe it takes him 500 times, but he will try 600 times if it means to put your walls down. And to go back to what she said, you know how she said that a lot of men like to cope with pornography, drugs, whatever. You guys also have to take into consideration a new way of women coping is working. I'm a stay-at-home mom. My way of coping isn't drugs and money, my way of coping is getting money, is going out to work. My son's in school, I'm gonna go to my 9 to 5 and I'm gonna bust my ass. Why? That doesn't make me masculine, that makes me a boss. So, and to touch on the question you actually asked, I don't like the word masculinity and femininity. I think it's tied too much to actions. Because there's a man that could cook better than a girl out here. There's a girl that could change a tire better than any man in this room. Don't play with me before I learn how to change a tire. Like, come on, man, come on.
I got a car front. What's up?
It doesn't. Okay, so let's talk about cake. Let's talk about food. You guys are telling me there's not a woman in this room that don't know how to cook, but you can make a better steak than she can?
Look at the stuff right there.
I'm not talking about right there. I'm talking about general. Because I promise you, Flo, you could probably cook better than half the people, right?
I can change a tire, but I can't.
Come on, man. Okay, there you go. So that's what I'm saying. Femininity and masculinity, I think it's tied too much to actions. I think we gotta show each other that we're just partners. We're here for each other. Whatever you lack in, I could bring to the table. Because I like to show myself as the type of woman that whatever my man lacks in, I could convert myself into what he lacks in to help uplift my man up. The same way my man needs to convert to whatever I'm lacking in to help lift me up. It's a partnership. This is not a, oh, I'm gonna cook, I'm gonna clean, I'm gonna do everything for you. And, oh, I got a 9 to 5, I'm gonna sleep, don't bother me. No, it's a, hey, my love, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I need my time too. I need to go to the gym. Okay, if I'm working, so how about we make dinner together? Because I feel like nowadays the stereotype of you gotta cook, you gotta clean, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Okay, but then if I'm losing myself, then what? I'm not beautiful as you see me as, right? So we gotta learn how to balance both of them. So I don't think being actions are tied into masculinity. I think you need to see your partner and you need to see what they need and be that for them. Period. That's it.
Issa says some action words, right? So she says she's an independent woman. She says she's a boss, right? So I think we need to think about those action words and how we're placing them in energy in our life, right? Because a boss woman also doesn't mean I don't need a man, right? So we need to think about those things when we utilize those words, right? And I'm not saying Issa's wrong at all. I'm just saying men and women.
I said I need a man. I said I need a man.
Exactly.
The right man.
There you go.
The right man.
So that part, and then I also want to piggyback on what she said about the right man. The right man is also the healed man, or the man that's working on healing. That's what the right man is. They've looked at themselves, they're doing the work, they're trying to be better, and that's when they're going to show up for you. But you have to also do the work within yourself, because nothing's going to come to you unless you're ready for it.
So full circle. What you said was true though. I think everybody has to let their ego down when it comes to relationships. I think when you're going into something new, you're actually getting to know somebody for the first time. You don't know their traumas, you don't know their experiences, you don't know their background. I think when you come into something, you have to be okay with, okay, let me let my ego down and communicate it. Hey, this is what I'm going to need in this relationship. And I agree that the role between male and female roles, it's been a gray area ever since social media. I agree with when it comes to music, social media, some of the messages that are being put out there. But I think also men have to, and I've been a part of this, right? We have to come out of that traditional mindset, right? Because traditions are gone, right, across the board in society. So, like you said, coming into a situation where it's like, hey, my role is to clean, cook, and your role is to provide and make the money. I think that's just gone. I think two people need to come together and realize, okay, look, I'm not good at this, you're not good at this. Can I pick up on that role, and can you pick up on that role? And I think whenever you're coming across those bridges where there's some kind of miscommunication or you're disagreeing, it's literally getting to the table and say, hey, I don't agree with this and I don't agree with that. And putting all egos down will allow you, and like you said, the healed man can do this and the healed woman can do this, but putting your ego down is big because you're no longer going off of your personal beliefs, you're actually letting somebody else come in with their beliefs and say, hey, let's meet somewhere in the middle. So that's just like my experience and how I feel about it.
Can you repeat the question?
I will.
Do you believe modern men are being encouraged enough to express vulnerability, or is there still stigma around it?
So I'm going to keep this short because, of course, we could always go in depth, but I am a very, very, very vulnerable person. My girl is there. I'm talking about the things that a man would think make him look weak. I've said to her without blinking an eye. I'm so vulnerable. But when we get vulnerable, we're not expecting you to make it about you. We need you to hold that space for us and hold what we're expressing and give feedback to that. And what has happened, and this is not for everyone, but it's happened in my relationship, and I've seen it happen with other guys, is when they get vulnerable, the woman automatically receives it as an attack and then makes it about her. And so now the man can't get vulnerable. So it's very important with vulnerability from a man's perspective for a woman to hear it, receive it, and my wife does a great job at receiving it 99% 9% of the time. Trying to keep the peace tonight. But it's very important not to meet that with defensiveness. If a man is expressing something, there's a lot of things that goes on in a man's life, especially a father's life, that men just don't talk about. And to add one more thing to the vulnerability thing, we are modern men. We are finding the spaces to get vulnerable. It's just we're not doing it with women around. And I'm telling you that because I'm in different groups. I've been to different workshops, boot camps, where men talk about all things like being addicted to porn, lust, etc. I've been having conversations the last 2 weeks about lust with my close circle. You know, so the vulnerability is coming from men. It's just we're not there yet at a point. Well, I am in my relationship, but I mean men are not there yet at a point with the way society has made things look to just tell a woman everything that's on their mind without being judged.
Well, I got a question for you, if I may. I just want to know, because you're a man and you're speaking.
Yeah.
So I want to say, do you think society nowadays, men feel like they can't be vulnerable, but not just because of the woman, but also because of their friend group or the people they surround themselves with? Because I feel like I've seen where men want to like bring their shield down and be there for the woman, but because there's others looking at them, they might feel weak, whether it's their friend, family,
Let's keep it real quick.
I'm from a perspective as an almost 60-year-old, hell yes, right? He's 35, so his age group is probably more comfortable with sharing. But men at my age, no one taught us how to communicate. No one taught us how to be emotional, be vulnerable. Like we had to, if you do the work, you can do it, right? And it all comes down to communication. If you don't know how to communicate, I love the fact that your wife is getting defensive because that's been a man's job since the Cro-Magnon, man. Like, you know, that's what men do. They don't know how to communicate, so as soon as a woman says something, you're wrong, right? We talk about, Wendy and I, never use the words always or never because they're never true, right? Right? But we're all human beings, right? But it's never, it's not correct. But we say it, and so as a guy, usually guys, because they don't know how to communicate, it's boom, get defensive. Well, there was that one time 17 years ago, I did do that. So don't tell me I never did it. And it's just how it goes. In practical, and I'm going to pass the microphone, but practical advice, especially to go back to your question, if you have not done the 5 love language test with the person you're with, do it. Like, honestly, because guys especially, because they don't necessarily understand themselves. When they take that, then they'll start to understand, oh, okay, those are my love languages. That's why I like this so much, but I don't like this. Because if you don't know each other's love language and talk to each other, it's literally as if I'm speaking German and you're speaking Spanish. Like you just don't know because you're not communicating in a language you understand. And so, it'll make it easier for them to understand themselves. That'll make it easier for you guys to communicate from that point on.
Going back to what you said, ego, y'all, it's the ego. Issa, that partially answers your question you have for him. It's the ego. We have to learn how to put our egos aside. If a lot of males would learn to put their egos aside, maybe they would be more open to being vocal publicly to talk about what they're going through. Because it is harder for men to express their feelings, because even though they say women are the more emotional beings, men are really protective over their feelings and over their hearts and being hurt. So they're the type of humans that only want to be hurt once. After that, it's like, good luck. If you hurt that man, good luck, you know? So I think it's putting the ego aside and working on those things, and I think that's what helps. But I'm gonna move on to the next question because I have a lot of juicy questions, y'all. And keep me on track with time, team. All right. All right, so we talked about boss women, right? You mentioned boss women, right? Why are we boss women right now? Because we are a lot of the breadwinners in our home, right? It hasn't been a time where there's been a lot of successful relationships, unfortunately, right? And again, this is why we're diving deep into these conversations, because we're carrying baggage, we're not healing, things like that. So women have been making a lot of money. We've been the primary earners. So how has this shift impacted dating dynamics, which I've heard a lot about that, marriage expectations, and perceptions of masculinity?
Well. I think. Sorry, can I say the last part of the question again?
Yeah. I'll tell you the whole question. How has the shift impacted dating dynamics, marriage expectations, and perceptions of masculinity?
Okay. So, let me just put it out there. I have nothing against 50-50. This is like the financial one. I have nothing against 50-50, nothing. But I do think it does change the dynamic because when you're a woman that has, your bills paid and everything set, all we're looking for is for a man to honestly really come correct. Which means loving me right, respecting me right. And if that person is not healed or is very disrespectful, things like that, it changes the dynamic. Because I feel like a lot of women nowadays are in relationships because of that comfortability of, you know what, he's paying my rent, he's doing this. Or maybe they don't even want to be in the relationship, but they got to stay in it because they're forced to stay in it. Because they don't have another way to survive. But when you look at women that make their own money, that have their own everything, I just want you to love me correct. I just want you to be loyal to me. I want you to hear me out the same way that you probably have your own, and I'm here to nurture you. I'm here to love you. So when you take money aside, it's like you're naked in front of this person. What are you giving me besides a nice purse, a nice dinner?
What are you giving him?
The same thing. What am I giving him besides having sex and then cleaning? I'm giving him support. When a man comes home and he's tired, my love, what do you want? You want food? You want this? You want that? Why? Because you don't gotta pay me for dinner. I have dinner already made for you. Groceries already made. The house is already clean. Of course. Of course. But why would I not want to do it for someone that I love? The same way that someone is gonna be loyal to me because he loves me. We're talking about money. So money aside, if you are loving somebody, you're going to nurture that person the same way I'm pretty sure your partner probably nurtures you in your way, the same way you probably nurture her in her way. Money aside, we're not talking about bills because we're going back to bills. What do you give to her? What do you give to him? What does he give to me if he's not paying my bills? He needs to give me love. He needs to give me support. He needs to give me respect. My bills are already paid. So that's what I'm giving. The same thing back. Love, support. Because we're not talking about bills. We're not talking about, hey, my love, my car needs to be paid, my phone needs to be paid. No. Hey, my love, how about we haven't had a spark, let's go on a date. Hey, my love, we've been arguing a lot, how about we go to therapy? So, because when you take money aside, what is it that your relationship has? Let's talk about it. Yeah, you may pay her clothes, you may pay her car, you may pay her rent, but what else are you giving her? A headache? A heartbreak? An asshole attitude? Let's talk about it.
All right, so I want to give 3 really short examples because I've been through 3 different relationships, completely different. When I was younger, I dated a football player that played in the NFL that made a lot of money in my 20s in Miami. And when it came to me saying I want to go to school, he was like, why? I make all the money. Let's have babies. And I'm like, well, wouldn't you want someone to make more money with your money instead of spending your money? And he's like, no, and he was also from Ruston, Louisiana. Every area has different culture, upbringings. I understood it, right? But we broke up after almost 7 years. And I didn't cry. It just felt right. I saw him at a reunion that they had for retired running backs, maybe like 5 years ago here in New York. And he came up to me and said, Ju, I want to say something. I didn't understand what you were saying then, but I understand it now. I'm not making football money anymore. And my wife does not want to do shit. Just go to Chanel and spend $60,000, $80,000. And I'm like, don't you want to go back to school? Don't you want to open up a flower shop? Don't you? And she was like, no. So that was one quick example, right? Where like, yeah, money aside, and it's about the man, because at that moment everybody was like, wait, Julissa, you're crazy, like he's trying to take care of you, right? Okay, fast forward, I mean another great man that was great, paid for everything. It was overwhelming because but then I told him one time, babe, like, what can I do for you? Like, you do all this for me financially and all this. And he's like, well, nothing. And I said, I feel kind of weird because I make money too. Like, I want to do the same thing for you. So this was a learning moment though, ladies. He said to me, you can't take away me pain, because that's the way I was taught to love. I took care of my mom and my sisters. So if you do that, it's going to be somewhat of a turnoff. And I was like, what? And then it was weird because my mom had told me that, and I thought it was old school thinking. But that was a different situation. So what I'm trying to say, there's no one set way, right? Because now I'm in a relationship where we equally spend for each other, right? He takes me to Paris, I take him to St. Bart's, we eat, and there's no tabs. However, that's not part of our relationship anymore. Like you said, the money is out. It's more about like listening to each other. It's about encouraging each other to go to the gym. It's about he cooks on Sundays, I cook the rest of the week. It's things like that, because I finally found someone that the financial was at the same level.
So I think going to what you were alluding to, was that you going with the Issa? No. They were great questions. So my first husband was vice president for Technicolor, the movie industry. So we were financially very well off. And so it was very easy for me to run my nonprofit and to have such a large percentage, go to the women that needed it. And when we got divorced, obviously the income was gone. And when Dave and I got together, it was unusual because it was a healthy dynamic. He had done the work on himself. I was in the middle of the work on myself. And it actually became phone calls to therapists because he did the laundry. What did I do wrong? What's happening? What did he do wrong? Okay, I just got home and he has dinner ready. Who did he sleep with? Like, I was freaking out because of kindness, because it hadn't been defined between us. And that was my expectation, because my bar had been set for 30 years of what behaviors start showing up when persons are doing something wrong. And I had my own, right? We've all got them. And so I think when we address how do we show up, once we've identified where we are at, if I need Dave to show up for me financially, I know I can depend on him for that because I know who he is, and vice versa. And there is a huge trend right now because of so many successful women that men don't know outside the parameters of protect, provide, procreate. That provision, that's kind of the doctrine going back to Genesis. A man will provide and a woman will give birth and nurture. Those are just two very clearly defined roles since the beginning of time. And we've changed them. And again, the man doesn't have a new playbook, and the woman doesn't. And so she doesn't know how to articulate, hey, I actually have all the breadwinning money here. I need to know emotionally that I can turn to you. I need to know X, Y, Z. And she's got to fill those blanks in and communicate those blanks and those new standards and those ideas, because the way a man can show up for a woman when finances aren't the way is the new definition of his playbook. And if that's not articulated, then the relationship is really going to struggle.
Woo! So many things are said there. Self-sabotage. That's what I got from when you said he was showing up, doing the right things, and you were like, why is he doing this? Did he just step out last night?
On a positive note, my therapist fired me. She said, Wendy, call me when there's a real problem, and I haven't called her since.
So, self-sabotage, we do that a lot, right? Because we have to do the inner work. But also I want to say, balance, y'all. Just balance. Just balance. Figure out the balance. We're all grown here. We're all grown. We're grown folks in here, okay? Just find a balance. Your spouse is doing this and this and that. You pull the weight on the other end. Balance. And I know it's not easy because of what we've been through, because of the baggage we're carrying over, because of things that are red flags for us, and all of these things that we need to heal from. But balance, definitely. And I just feel like we're in a very confused state before I move on to the next question, because we're talking about women making money, we're talking about women being boss women, but we're also in an era where women are talking about being soft girls too. So that's very confusing. So I don't know if you guys want to dive into that. If you want to, I will pass the mic to you. If not, all right, let me pass the mic over here.
I think, can I be honest with you? I think the soft girl era honestly comes from 5, 10, 15 years of just having to play the man's role, essentially for yourself, though. Right? So you get exhausted, exactly. You know, like you just said, now we're boss women. You know, we're cooking, we're cleaning, we're working. You know, we're doing it all. It's like, I get the understanding of to go into this soft girl era, but the soft girl era just, it generally has to come with, you know, like
our parents, but I did want to dive into this question real quick. So parenting and partnership. How do modern parents balance traditional gender expectations in raising children? And what impact does that have on how the next generation views gender roles?
I have 2 adult children, so I'll let you go first. Yeah.
I have a 4-year-old boy, a 9-month-old girl, and a 5-month in the oven girl. I have to say, in our relationship, we've been together 10 years. In our relationship, majority of the relationship, I've always made money, but I've depended on my girl's money, right? And there were times, so like at the beginning when we had our first son, she was working every day and I was at home with Armani, right? And I would work, but my work is different. I shoot when I shoot, I edit when I edit. I don't always Monday through Friday. It's not like a structure like that. It's very fluctuating. I can't say that felt, I can't tell you what that felt like, but I can tell you what it felt like when I was at home, when we got our own place. We were living in her mother's house when we first had our money, so there was more help. But when we got our own place, I didn't feel comfortable. It didn't feel right for me. I didn't feel like I was fulfilling my duty as a man by cooking and taking care of the kids. And that didn't feel right to me, right? And now it's fluctuated. Now, you know, she went on maternity leave. We're having what we call Dominican twins, not Irish twins, Dominican twins. It means 14 months apart. So she's been home a lot, and now I'm working all the time, and I feel good about that. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like that comes natural to me. I'm an amazing cook. I know how to clean. I don't like to clean. I don't like to grab my pants and put them in the hamper. These are things that I just don't have the structure and wasn't given the structure to do. And I know men that are super clean. And I don't know how they got to be like that, but I'm learning now. But the point that I'm trying to make is the expectation is for me, and I've told her this, I need you to take care of the kids, to cook occasionally. You don't have to cook all the time, but cook occasionally. Take care of the things that are going on in the house so that I can focus on getting the money and taking care of the family. That for me feels the most natural. The idea of me staying at home and taking care of the kids while she goes out and gets the money will never, not in my ego, not in my heart, in anything. Spiritually, I would never feel good with that.
So quick question, did you guys have that conversation before you got into your marriage? 'Cause that's important.
No, so, and that's a good question. No, I don't think we had that conversation because, you know, when you're dating someone, you just date and you have all these conversations of different things, but you never go that deep, right? Of course. And I was going to say earlier that I think a big issue in relationships is that we're not talking about what our standards are for ourselves and for each other, for one another. So I agree with you, but we didn't have that conversation.
Yeah, I think you know, when it comes to relationship, Wendy and I actually have 36 questions? We've got a cheat sheet that we send out to people who are in new relationships. 36 questions you need to talk about if you're even considering marriage. And it's deep, like it's serious stuff. And you have to.
Okay.
I know, seriously, we'll get it together.
We're gonna send it out for you guys. You guys.
But a lot of that is doing the work, right? Like I'm old, right? So Flo he'll get there, you know what I mean? So you get a little older, you're used to it. I don't care. She makes more money. I come into this thing, she's got this nonprofit, and she's making more. I was actually, when I first started, I moved out from New Hampshire, and I was making more salary than she was. And then my boss found out I had moved to Utah, and that was it. But anyway, ever since then, she's making more money. And we've got the relationship coaching, which hasn't become a real business yet, because I'm not putting the time into it. Because for me, her nonprofit is more important. And when we get that settled, and then we've got the time to put in the relationship, then I'll worry about money. And so I think what it comes down to is when you've done the work and when you realize the most important thing is the relationship, you just do whatever it takes. And that might be letting her make all the money. It might be you doing the dishes. It might be you know, whatever it is. And the gender role thing, that's a hard thing. Like as far as kids, we don't obviously have young kids. Both of our kids are in their 20s and up, but we have grandkids now. And we're watching it, and the two youngest ones come over our house, and there's a 14-year-old boy who's got a father who only makes the money. He's got nothing to do with the kids. And Grandpa's dad isn't to teach a 14-year-old boy how to be a man, but I have to because he ain't doing it. And so do I want this 6'2", 14-year-old to think it's okay to hit a girl because he fights with his sister all the time? Do I want to help him learn what it is to be a man because his father's hands off? So, you know, there is some kind of gender-specific stuff you do need to teach. Whatever you say, men are bigger and stronger, period. You can be the boss all you want, but men are typically bigger and stronger. And you have to learn that self-restraint. You're going to hurt somebody. So anyway, there are important roles and things that you know you have to teach. But ultimately, when it comes to a relationship, I don't care if she makes more money than I do. It really doesn't matter. If we're happy and everything that needs to get done is getting done, that's the important thing.
Yeah. Clap it up. Y'all, as a parent, kids, they're paying attention to what we're doing. What we're saying, how we're acting, how we're dealing with things, that's all, it's gonna grow with them. So we have to be very careful. We cannot inflict the pains that we're going through in our relationships, in our marriage, and just learning parenthood onto our children. But I did want to get a female's perspective on this as mothers.
Anyway, so yeah, I have the 5 kids, very absentee father, a lot of single parenting. But with my grandkids, it has been a huge importance, you know, that Dave and I do show up for them in as healthy of a way as possible. So there was an interview, if you guys listen to podcasts at all, Google Scott Galloway or Richard Reeves. They both have come out with books just in the last few months about the role of men and boys and what has happened. And Scott Galloway's, they both come from very terrible, horrific upbringings. Like Scott's dad was married 8 different times and left him and his mom alone, and he had no role modeling. And on one of the interview's questions, she said, well, okay, tell me something you love about your father. And it really set him back because he had already vulnerably shared kind of the horrors of his upbringing and having an absentee father and a father who thought, you know, women were more, you know, important than raising him and being there for him. And he said, and I loved this, he said, you know, I guess what I learned from my dad is that he didn't come into my room and sexually molest me like his dad had done to him. And so that's something that stopped with him. And because of that, I'm in a better place. And he said, and then I learned from my dad the art of storytelling because I learned how many lies he shared and did to get money and to get drugs and things like that. And I thought that was so powerful. We all have it within us to flip the script. We all probably have horror stories from our past. And if you are over the age of 18 and still allowing those stories to rule your life, you're in the wrong. And you've got to change it. And I mean, I was adopted. Like I have so many stories. And the stories aren't what matters. It's what you choose today that matters. It's how you choose to show up that matters. That's what matters. And so, yeah, I think the role modeling for the kids is
One-liner.
I know.
One-liner, because I learned this one recently, and it's true. Regarding everything she's saying is true, and it's, yes, it wasn't your fault, but it is your responsibility. So as an adult, it is your responsibility to heal and work through those things that may not have been your fault, but they're definitely your responsibility.
The only thing we 100% all have is freedom of choice. Do the right thing.
Yeah, we're winning, guys. One-liner.
Not on East. This is to feed off of Flo's thing, because exactly what he just said. It's literally like you're born looking like your parents, but you die with the choices you're made. Okay?
if you're in the ego, you're edging God out.
Amen. Yo, y'all got that one right. That was a great way to end the panel, though. But when it comes to children, it's so sensitive. Definitely, again, make sure that you know that these kids are looking up to you. They're copying everything you're doing. They're looking at you as role models. So and we're human, we make mistakes. So even if we've made mistakes, we have to talk to them about those mistakes when they get older, so they understand that this is what I did, this is what I think you shouldn't do, and this is what the lessons I learned from this, But this was great. We were gonna dive into the sassy man, but you know what's crazy? I don't feel like there were any sassy men on this panel, which clock that. I love that. Okay. But this wasn't about proving any gender wrong or right? This was just about a safe space, having these conversations, being open. I think this was a great panel. So thank you guys for having us. I'm so fearless, and enjoy your evening.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
The girls and the guys, one question to get to know yourself and one question to get to know your partner. An interpersonal question when it comes to dating. And then a question when you are dating somebody for your partner to ask yourself. That is, I'm in my 20s.
I love that.
Sorry, I'm in my 20s.
We're going to send you an email of their full question list for you. I
will answer real quick, then pass it to Lori. I would say, and you guys are the experts, but I would say ask the person you're dating what are they looking for and why.
Okay.
There'll be a lot of depth to that.
Thank you, Sue. Don't go anywhere. None of the panelists go anywhere, because I do want to thank all of you for coming up here and joining us. So I'm going to hand out a couple little things for everyone of our panelists. But yes.
Yeah, we should take pictures.
Thank you.
He got the bottle. We got the
Oh my God, $500.
This is for Cosette Granger sponsored our media. So thank you very much, Ms. Cosette Granger. Thank you all for joining this panel. Thank you all for coming and listening. These elevated hours are only going to get better. I know we only touched the tip of some conversation, and there is so much more to be had. So I want everybody to mingle, get to know the people that you're in the room with, have a drink, get some food, enjoy the time, and let's just listen to some music and have a great night. And get a photo with all the panelists, please.
Clap for our two hosts for putting on a situation like this. Conversations like this doesn't happen in your name. Thank you.
Thank you.